One of the focal points of discussion when it comes to terror attacks is extremism and how people either self-radicalize or are exposed to radicalization on the internet. Well, last week, whilst we were here discussing climate change, a 27-year-old German was on a mission to kill Jews in the German city of Halle. His plans mostly failed when he couldn't get into the synagogue. However, he killed 2 people outside. Let's get more on this from DW. Our partners, William Glucroft, is political correspondent there. He joins me from Berlin. First of all, give us a summary of how this attack happened.
Well, it was exactly a week ago, the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur, a very holy day in the Jewish calendar, was taking place, which meant Jews all around the world in synagogues were filled with prayer goers. That's the same situation that was happening at the synagogue in the city of Halle in eastern Germany. And that's when a 27-year-old far-right extremist, a German man, pulled up to the synagogue and opened fire with makeshift weapons. Now, those weapons were not quite so good. They failed, actually. He wasn't able to get into the synagogue, but unfortunately the weapons were good enough to kill then a random passerby on the street, a woman, and then later, not far away at a kebab shop, he gunned down a man just having his lunch, a construction worker. So it should be noted that although this is being considered an anti-Semitic attack that targeted Jews, the victims themselves were actually not Jewish, and that's gotten the attention of German authorities and really the entire German society to show just how dangerous of a threat anti-Semitism is, not only to Jews, but to everyone, really.
Yeah.
The suspect had since been arrested. He's confessed to his crime, and he does confirm that he holds anti-Semitic and racist beliefs that helped drive him to carry out this attempted attack.
So given that this has been, obviously treated as an anti-Semitic attack, have they found anything apart from the statement that you just mentioned from the investigation so far?
Well, the investigation quite quickly came up with a lot of evidence to his far-right extremism and his far-right views, one being that he live-streamed the attack on a gaming platform known as Twitch, and in that stream he made many offensive and racist remarks, not only against Jews but against women and against other groups that he espoused hate for. There was also a written manifesto that was uncovered. All of this in English, mind you, not German, all of this in English, which suggests the audience that he was directing his comments to, which was also full of hate and racism and conspiracy theories that just have no basis in reality, no basis in facts. And yet he wanted to carry out this attack to kill as many Jews as possible. As said, he killed no Jews. He only killed non-Jewish German citizens, of which he is one of them himself. So this investigation is ongoing, but it's really sparked a wider amount of concern for other far-right extremists, either as individuals or as movements in Germany, and especially their connection to far-right extremism all around the world. As said, he live-streamed this to a gaming platform where people all around the world with similar racist ideology and similar far-right views gave him support and pushed him on, encouraged him to commit this act, and those were the people he was performing for.
And rightly so, performing for. That's quite bizarre. But rightly spoken, you said that this is obviously in the context of the increase in far-right violence in Germany. What have been the political consequences of this particular attack?
Well, of course, the most immediate response is more police at the sites, at Jewish sites, at synagogues in particular. Many in the Muslim community have also been saying they need police protection too, because of course far-right violence doesn't really distinguish between their hatred for Jews, hatred for Muslims, and other minority groups. Though that is the immediate response. But the German government also wants to do a lot more when it comes to online hate speech and monitoring platforms and groups that use the internet to spread their ideology and, as I said, encourage each other, support each other to carry out these kinds of attacks and give each other ideas on what to do. The attacker in Halle said that he drew a lot of inspiration from Christchurch and also the mass shooting in Norway from several years ago, which was also carried out by a single far-right extremist. So the point is here that although these people are acting alone in a legal sense, and they're the only ones who can be taken to court and sentenced to prison terms, their support, their base of support is very deep and very broad all around the world, and that's what the German government wants to try to go after. But at the same time, in addressing hate speech, they have to make sure that they still protect freedom of speech and civil liberties. So it's a very tough balance that German authorities have in trying to address this problem.
Very delicate, very tricky. But thankfully, the assailant managed to, was not able to enter the synagogue, but he did manage to kill 2 people near the synagogue. And when he couldn't get in, what lessons are there to draw here?
Well, as said, the fact that the victims of an anti-Semitic attack were not Jewish is evidence of the threat that anti-Semitism and hate of all kinds not only poses to Jews and other minorities, but also poses to broad societies, whether that's Germany or anywhere else in the world. So those are some of the lessons that people are learning from. Also the lack of police presence. There was no real police presence in front of the synagogue last week. That's been taken under consideration. And a lot of criticism, a lot of political criticism directed at the far-right Alternative for Germany party, which got 20% of the vote in Halle for state elections a few years ago, so a large amount of support for the far-right party. They've, of course, rejected any connection to this crime or any way of facilitating or supporting this kind of violent acts. And although they've had a lot of criticism directed to them, members of the AfD have made one interesting point, which is that Germany needs to do more at addressing the sense of loneliness and the lack of opportunities that many young people, especially young men, might feel around Germany that could lead them into such a place of isolation to reach out to these kinds of far-right platforms and far-right internet chat forums where they get the support they feel that they're lacking otherwise, and that might push them to commit these violent acts.
Bottom line, it's all about extremism, which is also a conversation we're having here in Ghana, given our very close proximity to neighboring Burkina Faso, which has had a lot of terror attacks. But finally, William, there is a bitter history to anti-Semitism in Germany. How is the Jewish community there reacting to this news?
Well, the Jewish community, along with many aspects of civil society, other religious groups, other nonprofits have joined together. There's been a huge outpouring of support and grief to the Jewish community, not only in Halle specifically, but all around Germany. There are a number of vigils, candlelight demonstrations. Here in Berlin just the other day, over the weekend, approximately 10,000 people came out to the streets to show their support for a more tolerant and open society and against this kind of far-right extremism. But the Jewish community is facing a lot of questions about its role and its place in German society and how safe they really can be to practice their religion as they wish.
Practice their religion as they wish. It shouldn't even be a matter of discussion until now. But, well, we've had to deal with it anyway. William, thank you so much for that update from Berlin. William Glucroft is political correspondent with our partners, TW. He joined us all the way from Berlin with that rather unfortunate story there. But we all have a responsibility to keep our societies safe. So if you see something, do say something. This is still The Pulse with me, Gifty, and up here.